Welcome to our first official webinar for operators. We are so excited to have you all here. This is my first time hosting, so I apologize if I get camera shy, but we should be good. We're just going to give it a few seconds while folks are joining and getting settled in. But in the meantime, we can have some fun in the chat. We can have everyone share where they're tuning in from today. I personally am located at the Offstreet HQ here in Regina, Saskatchewan. And looking outside, it's been raining and gloomy here for days, so I can only dream of the sun. But yeah, I'll let you guys. Oh, I see Mark saying go Oilers. Yes, go Oilers. Sad about yesterday's loss, but we're going to come back with that. Before we kick things off and get into the real content today, I want to start by catching up to speed on who I am if you don't already know. My name's Sydney, and I am a marketing manager here on the Offstreet team. I've been with Offstreet for about 3 years now, and I've spent most of my time working closely with parking operators, so it's nice to see some friendly names in the chat. We've got a great session lined up for you today. We'll be doing 4 rapid fire demos for everyone to enjoy and see how each of you can utilize some of these functions at Offstreet at your locations. But of course, it's not just me here today with all of you. That would be absolutely way too much talking for me. But you'll be hearing about these use cases from a couple of our parking pros, which you guys probably will recognize, Danny and Hayden. Danny, she goes above and beyond to ensure every customer feels supported, understood, and valued. So she'll be here today doing just that and just sharing some top tips to help you guys out at your locations. And of course, Hayden, he thrives on creating that smooth, collaborative experiences. And today he'll be helping you achieve all your goals. So let's give them a virtual round of applause as we take it away today. Okay, so we're going to get into our first demo here with Danny. I'm going to set the scene quickly, looking at residential properties. So many residential properties like condos or apartments, they face ongoing challenges when it comes to managing visitor parking. These challenges can create friction for property managers, your team, residents, and even guests. Looking at issues like unpredictable influxes of guest vehicles at different times of the day. Some visitors might be needing access to multiple parking zones, which can add a different level of complexity. And of course, manual processes for requesting, issuing, and managing visitor passes can often be quite time consuming and frustrating for both visitors and property staff. So how can Offstreet help this experience and streamline it for everybody involved? Danny is here to show you how.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sid. I am so excited to be here today. It's great to see some familiar faces in the chat. I think we are going to have a lot of fun today, running through some of the most commonly seen off-street demos here today. It's going to be good. I am going to start off firstly by chatting about residential locations, as Sid had just mentioned. And I think we can all agree that managing visitor parking in a multi-unit building can seem like a nearly impossible task. Kind of like how I feel when I show up somewhere and realize that the only type of parking that there is parallel parking. It's an impossible task to say the least. And I think that anybody in my car does not want to be a part of that experience. So, needless to say, there are a lot of moving parts involved, and Offstreet can help simplify those. So, when it comes to residential locations, we are really dealing with a lot of different complexities with lease parking rules, and then we are playing the ongoing game of who's that parked in stall 101. They've been here for 2 weeks too many. Whose guest is this? So without further ado, I would like to share my screen here and jump into the demo. I would like to start off just by disclosing that we are only going to be sharing from the parker's perspective today. So this is everything that the parker would be interacting with as they would come on site here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So to give you a little bit of insight on how this all works, when we are originally setting up a residential location, we would be providing each unit in the building their own unique registration code, is what we call them. And you can think of this essentially like a punch pass. So we can set it so that they have a certain amount of punch passes to use within a given amount of time, whether that be a week or a month. And then we can also adjust the duration of stay of each of those sessions. So for this example that we're looking at today, I have 10 sessions that I can use in 1 month, so 10 punch passes or registration codes. And each of them are going to be 12 hours long here. So you can see my start time, 11:06 a.m., and it would expire 12 hours later at 11:06 p.m. So what you're looking at right now is the Offstreet portal. When a parker would drive into the parking lot, they would scan a QR code there and it would bring them to the portal that it looks like this. On the left-hand side here, you can see we do have some things that can be adjusted for the specific use case that you're working with. So we can adjust this visitor parking here. We can add in instructions on the left-hand side. And then all that the parker would do when they come on site here is they would add in their license plate number, select next, and here's where they are going to be entering that unique code that they would receive from the resident of the building or the unit that they are visiting there. They're just going to click park. And this is when the information will be automatically sent on over to enforcement. And they do have the ability to enter in their email address here as well. So they will be able to receive a confirmation receipt as well as an email notification 15 minutes before, just letting them know that their parking will expire. Now you're probably asking me, Danny, how in the world are people supposed to keep track of their codes? This world is busy. We have so much going on. Keeping track of codes can be a lot, and that's totally understandable. So what the resident of the building can do, or like that owner of that code, can save this URL to their phone actually, or they can mosey on down to the parking lot, get some steps in for the day, scan the QR code down there, and they can actually click code check in the top right-hand corner here. And they can simply just enter in their code here, select lookup, and you can actually see here, this can be used 10 times in the month. It's going to reset on June 1st, and you have 5 uses left for the month. So that is residential parking in a nutshell. I'm going to pass it over to Sid to answer any questions that came through the chat while I was going through that.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I am definitely going to keep my eyes peeled for your next parallel park at the office. I think that would just be fun to watch. But apart from that, I love how customizable and easy to use this setup in Offstreet is. We do have a couple of questions coming through, so that's awesome. I'm going to start off with one from Jamie. Can the user also be updated via text as an option?
That's a great question. It's actually on our roadmap right now. So the team right away here, coming in July about, we are going to be looking into it, but I would say it's safe to say Q3 we will have SMS feature for sure.
Amazing. I know I'm so excited about that feature, but every operator I've talked to as well is pumped to have that coming in. I have a couple more questions. One from Aaron at Easy Park. For security and audit purposes, is there a way to also configure and add in the person's name, example like their first and last name, to these sessions?
Great question, you bet. And actually, when we upload these codes, we can attach additional information to them. So if you want to attach the additional information of their unit number, their name, whatever that may be, we can attach it all to the same code. So with that code 1234 that I showed up there, we could have Danny Yeager unit number 101. So when you pull that report, all that information will display with the code.
Amazing. And then one final question, and I know this one definitely hits home, but what happens when someone doesn't own a cell phone or isn't tech savvy, like for, say, my grandma?
Great question. It's definitely a concern that operators do bring up because we do have that generation that is not comfortable using technology sometimes. So it's great that we do think about them too. What we do commonly see is just that the resident would create the registration on behalf of the parker coming on site. So they would just need to gather, of course, their license plate number and create the registration for them. If there are a lot of folks that they see coming in that are not comfortable with the technology, we've also seen just a tablet being placed in the lobby there. So as folks come in, they can create the registration that way and they don't need to have a personal smart device on them.
Perfect. Yeah, that would definitely be very helpful. Okay, well, looks like we got one more question coming in from Mark. Can Offstreet provide unique codes instead of us importing them?
Yes, you bet. So we can have all of those generated on our end and we would just share them with you over email address and then you guys can share them from there.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much, Danny. That's all we got for this Q&A portion, but if any other questions pop up, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we can answer them at the end of this session. But thank you, Danny, and we're going to get into our next demo. So I'll set the scene again, just like last time, and starting at a hotel use case. So while I might love staying at a hotel, before I was in the parking industry, I never really knew the complexity of what meant to have like my car with me. So we can see hotels often experiencing a surge in guests or even special events, whether it be for weddings, conferences, banquets, and especially during peak travel seasons. And so when a hotel, even if it's not fully booked, parking still remains a full-time operation. And with these events and guest stays come a number of different parking challenges. So looking at parker flexibility is the first one. Guests may need to come in and quickly and drop off their bags, check in, extend their stay, and they might even want to stay longer for dining or spa services. So how are you guys keeping track of plates or making these quick changes for guests? We can also look at the traditional parking solutions like physical permits, coupon codes, or promo codes. Those solutions are often inconvenient for guests and even sometimes burdensome for the front desk staff to manage. And lastly, we can also look at how hotels are using alternative solutions, which might continue to struggle with wayfinding capabilities, an easy way to provide custom instructions, and all that layers up and can create miscommunications between hotel staff and the guests. So we're looking to change all of that, and I'm going to bring in Hayden to walk us through what it's like to manage hotel and event parking through Offstreet.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Hayden. I'm excited to walk you through a real-world use case of how Offstreet is transforming the way hotels manage guest parking and streamline the parking experience for both your hotel staff and guests. So walk you through a practical example of how a hotel can implement Offstreet to improve efficiency, reduce those parking headaches, and ultimately enhance the guest experience. As well, I'll show you how many hotels are using our events feature to streamline event parking at their hotel and conference center. Just like we did with Danny, if you have any questions, please jot them down and we'll have some time at the end to answer them. Okay, so let's get into it. So the best parking experience is the one you don't remember, and Offstreet helps hotels create that experience for their guests. When you finally arrive at a hotel after a long day of travel, maybe you're driving in a car all day, maybe you're on the plane at the airport, parking is the last thing you want to worry about when you arrive at the hotel to stay. The hotels want to make it as easy as possible for their guests. So I'm going to share my screen. We'll pull it up here. And again, this is going to be the perspective from the front desk at the hotel. So a cool thing with Offstreet is we can fully customize user accounts to give different access depending on what they need. And we can edit it for every use case. So it might not, what looks on here today might not be exactly what you want, but just know that we have lots of different ways that we can edit these security settings. So everything's going to be pre-populated. Your front desk, we can create many different user accounts for whoever works there. They're going to log in and it's just going to bring them right to the create registration page. So they can have this on another tab on their computer. The guest walks in, they'll go to the front desk, they'll check in, and then all the hotel will need to do is just ask them for their license plate. And that's, as far as the guest's concerned, that's as much as they're going to need to do or provide you. So you'll enter in the license plate into Offstreet. Whatever it is, you can enter the state. And then in this case, you'll just enter in whatever day that they're going to check out at the hotel. So if they're going to be here till Saturday, it's automatically going to expire when the guest checks out at the end of the week. The cool thing too, I have this just set up for overnight parking, but we can fully customize it and create multiple different options for those cases Sydney mentioned, is if they're going to stay at the spa, if they're going to go stay a little bit longer, or maybe they're going to check out early, or they have a late checkout. We can fully create multiple registration settings so we can manage all those different use cases for a hotel. As you'll see here, we can also add additional information fields, which I usually recommend in a hotel case in case you need to find the license plate. If there's any mistakes or any errors that your hotel needs to change, having another field for additional information helps your team be able to search to find that registration. So in this case, I put room number. You can put name. You can really add as much of these fields as you want. So you'll enter that in. You can even make it a required field if you want it for every single one of your hotel guests, and you'll hit create. I already created this registration earlier, so that's why I'm getting this message, but it's a good feature to show you that your front desk won't be able to make multiple registrations of the same plate if they're created. We're going to create it anyways. So you'll see right away, it's going to show you the last registration you created at the top here. You'll also see a list of ongoing of the previous registrations you created. Say if the guests realize that they come to the front, they go outside to go find a parking spot, they realize that they actually brought their other vehicle, they gave you the wrong plate. It's just as easy as clicking on that registration, and your team will be able to hit edit and go and change that plate number. Maybe they switched rooms, there's something wrong with their room. You can also edit the additional information fields. And depending on what access you give your team, you also would be able to edit these dates here, depending what you'd like. And that's just a regular hotel front desk parking. The next thing I want to touch on is event parking. So in my opinion, one of the coolest features we do at Offstreet is our events module. So we're able to create really custom and unique events for multiple different use cases, but it's an easy way for a hotel or a conference center to manage all the different events that are coming. Maybe it's not for guests that are going to stay overnight, but they still need parking on the lot at the hotel. So this again is a view from the parker's perspective. So this would all be created in the back end. Super simple, and a cool thing we can do is we actually can give it's your conference staff or whoever on your team is the person who creates events or does all this work with events, we can create them a unique account just to be able to create events at the hotel or conference center. So once they've created it all, it'll bring you to a portal page like this. This is a unique link. It also creates a QR code that's unique just for this event. Once the event's over, this link no longer works. So you'll see there's multiple different things in here that we customize. So it will tell you all the dates that you're registered for parking. It'll tell you the parking location. So at the beautiful Offstreet Hotel. As well at the top here, it's going to tell you the venue location. I'll kind of talk about what the difference of those two is. Another cool feature with our events is you can provide, say if you had multiple lots around your hotel, you can do multi-lots in a single event, and you can have separate directions to the event itself. So you might have 3 lots spread out. They're all on different blocks. The parker can go and park, and then once they get there, they can get walking directions from the parking lot to the event venue itself. So it makes wayfinding super easy. From the parker, all they're going to have to do is enter in their email. We'll do off test. Another cool thing they can do is we can make it required for them to get receipts and reminders, so you don't have to worry about them not knowing where to park. So you'll enter in your email. And a super cool new feature that we just launched this week is parking instructions, but not just, we've always had this parking instructions feature, but the ability to change the parking instructions depending on where the parker is in their journey. So at this front page being the portal, before they even register, you'll see license plates is your permit. You do not need a physical copy. You can fully customize this to say whatever you'd like. We'll hit park. Oh, again, I used the wrong thing. We're going to go into, this is a permit I created a little earlier for the same event. You'll see again on the confirmation page, there's different parking instructions on here. So we're excited to welcome you to the Offstreet Hotel. Please park in any of the stalls on the first floor on the parkade. So anything that they might need to know once they're registered for parking before they show up to the hotel, you can add on that. And then on the receipt and the reminders, they can get different, or on the reminders, the expiry soon reminder, they can get different instructions. So I think on this one, I put something about like, give us feedback on how your parking experience is. Click on this link, and we can go from there. So really cool feature. It's available right now. So if you want to use it, you can go test it out. Please let us know. Please let your account manager know how it goes. Yeah, but this is how the confirmation page looks. So you'll see those directions again on here, and everything's good. So they can just show up to the event, park, and they leave. They don't have to worry about parking, which really should be how event parking goes. And that's all I have. I'll pass it back to you, Sid.
This is all so great. I think this event feature is going to be a huge hit for hotels, especially with all the information that can be customized for each event. So coming into a couple of questions that have popped up, I'm just looking at the chat right here. We have one from Mark. Are there more features coming down the pipeline for events? It gets cumbersome with multiple days and rates.
That's a great question, Mark. So yes, if you haven't seen it yet, we have a product roadmap for 2025, and there is a ton of features that are coming on there, and we've already released a bunch this year. So yeah, with multiple days, I see your other comment with multiple days and rates. We'll be able to handle all those complex events cases in our events feature by the end of the year, which is incredible. Really cool. I've actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but I've been part of the testing for it and I've seen what it looks like, and I think you will all be really stoked to be able to handle all those complex multi-day events.
Yeah, it is going to be amazing. We got another question coming in from Mike. Does the registration code have to be tied to a plate at all times, or can it be used for validation regardless of the vehicle used?
Great question. So I believe you're asking if the code can be used multiple times for different plates. And the answer is yes. So we can fully customize how much those codes are used, if they're single-use codes, if they're just tied to one plate, or if that same code can be used multiple times with multiple plates. We can do that. We can fully customize how often, how many uses that code has.
Amazing. Yes. Okay. We have lots of questions coming in. I love how eager you guys are. Okay. One from Sabrina. All the people that register an event don't pay. Will we invoice the hotel in this case at the end of the month?
Great questions. So yes, you can do different things. We've actually launched payments through Offstreet, which you can talk to your account manager about. But we can create links where the end guest can pay for parking. But you also can add in a rate to the event so that when you pull the report, you see how much you have to bill for that event, and you can bill the hotel for it after.
Perfect. Okay, we have one from Jamie. What is the method for verifying parked vehicles' license plates? Manual lookup, or is there a scanner in an app?
Some great question. So, with Offstreet, we're able to integrate with many different enforcement apps. So when it goes into Offstreet, the plate goes into that information gets sent to whatever enforcement app that you're able to that you use. We also do have a thing called active vehicles. So if you don't necessarily have an enforcement app, you also can just look on the active vehicles list to verify the plates that are in your lot, if it's a smaller lot, and that's how you do enforcement.
Perfect. And then one final question. Will we have an automatic event rate change instead of us going in and changing it back before events and change it back after?
Another great question. So you put in the rates for events when you create them. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the same rate that you have for other things on your lot. You can use that same rate, but it's just going to be active for that to the duration of the event. Another cool feature that's coming, part of the new part of events, is you're going to be able to do like early bird pricing, change the rate throughout duration on the calendar leading up to the event as well.
Perfect. Okay, so I think that's all we have for this Q&A period. So thank you so much, Hayden. And we can get into our next demo. We're going to talk about my favorite vertical, retail parking. So shopping centers, malls, standalone stores, they might want to provide, well, they're going to want to provide a smooth experience for all of their customers. And even though the focus is on driving foot traffic and sales, parking can either support or disrupt the shopper's journey. So of course, retail parking comes with its own set of challenges. So some parkers might be in and out and stay 5 minutes, or there's going to be shoppers like me that might want to spend hours browsing, maybe, hit up a restaurant and get a nice little drink before heading home. So those are long, like a big gap in duration. So retailers and property managers that rely on existing solutions continue to face challenges with no way to tailor these times based off each tenant, location, or property rules. And then again, with this comes disconnected systems. So this could result in confusion for shoppers, for staff, and even for the citation officers. And I know when I go shopping, last thing I want to do is get a ticket after I've spent too much money on clothes. So I'm going to bring Danny back to the spotlight here and see if she can show us how retail locations can easily manage parking with Offstreet.
Thanks, Sid. We know a supermarket would hate to see you coming. So retail parking can be a little bit of a free-for-all. We have staff, we have shoppers, we have guests, and then we also sometimes have those university students who would rather walk a couple miles, then actually pay for parking and just like squeeze in the back corner thinking nobody can see them. Well, Offstreet will help you keep all of the good parkers in and making sure that the violators are staying out. So I am going to be touching on both the visitor and the employee side of things for the retail spots. I'm just going to start off with the visitor side and then we'll hop into employees right after that. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you guys again here. By this point, I think you're probably fairly familiar with what our portal looks like. To give a little bit of insight again, right before I hop into the demo, each tenant within a retail location can all have their own designated portal. So this being said, they can all have their own name on their portal, their own logo, and we can set them up with the duration of stay or the time that is best suitable for them. And with that, we can like obviously highly customize the start time, expiry time, and add any different type of restrictions that they need. So let's say Real Canadian Superstore only wants to offer one validated session per day, meaning I created one registration now. I can't come back and get more in the same day. We can definitely add those on and it can be different for each tenant as we go. So this one here, very simple, straightforward. I would walk into Superstore and I would scan a QR code, or there was also tablet set up there sometime as well. And I would enter in my license plate number here, make sure my state or province is right, and just hit park. It's really that simple, one step and you're good to go off to buy your groceries for the week. Again, here you can add in your license or your email address for your confirmation receipt and expiry reminder. But that is really all there is to the visitor parking side of things. Very streamlined, which we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on. I'm gonna hop on over to the employee permit side of things. The great thing about Offstreet permits is that it can be self-managed by each of the tenants. So this can take a little bit of a load off from the operator themselves by being able to pass this on to the manager. So what we'll be able to do is create specific user accounts for each tenant here. So the user account would be specific and only be able to see this permit side here. They'd be able to head on to this area and automatically have a list of all of the plates that are currently valid under the permits in the lot. So they can click on one here and be able to edit, delete, adjust, remove it from here. We can also go ahead and create one. We are going to have an automatic start time. So right now, date and time. We can also add in a schedule to it. So let's say we have an employee that is only coming in Monday through Friday. We can remove Saturday and Sunday so that they won't be valid during those times. We would enter in their license plate number here, select the state or province once again, and there is a notes field in the permits area. So if you do want to attach any type of notes with it there, you can. And then Hayden mentioned or touched on this additional information side of things here as well. So we can collect any different type of additional information that you would like to see. Most commonly, we're just seeing like employee name or employee number. Anything like that that's going to make it easiest for the manager to come back in and search that afterwards. It's much easier to remember a license plate or to remember a last name than it is to remember a license plate number. So we would just be able to go ahead, search by a last name here and see which permit is associated with my last name. So that is both the visitor and employee side of the retail location. Sid, I'm going to pass it back to you one more time for peppering me with a few more questions.
Horace, thank you. I mean, I wish every store made parking registration this seamless. Be such a great experience. So I do have one question for you so far. What if we want to provide 2-hour paid parking, and then if the parker would like, or 2-hour free parking, and then if the parker would like the paid parking option, they could extend parking. Could they pay for it?
Yes, you bet. That is a great question, something that we're seeing a little bit more come through here. So yeah, we would definitely be able to provide that 2-hour free parking, essentially just what you saw here, and we'd be able to add on a second option for after that 2 hours of free has been completed. In that email that they would receive for the expiry email, we could link them right back to the portal so they can click on that link to actually buy an extra 2 hours of parking or whatever duration and price of stay that you would like to offer.
Perfect. Amazing. Okay, so that's all we have for the Q&A period for that one. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. There's not too many questions surrounding that. I know we're running up on time, but we do have one final use case to share with you guys. We've just had so many great Q&A questions, so this has been amazing. So with our final use case for mixed use buildings, we're going to look at how to manage this. So whether they are downtown towers or suburban developments, parking managers often are juggling a complex parking ecosystem between employees, commercial tenants, residential tenants, visitors, and even short-term parkers. There's a lot to coordinate. Complexity brings several common parking challenges. So there's a variety of different types of users, each with their own needs and their own rules. And a rigid parking system is going to make it hard to accommodate all of these varying needs without manual workarounds. But that's why a digital solution is the way to go. So Hayden, will you take us through the final demo and show us what it's like for mixed-use properties to use Offstreet?
Awesome. I'd be happy to, Sid. So we've seen retail parking, we've seen residential parking, long-term permits, hotel parking, and I know what you're thinking. Hayden, I want to do it all. And what about locations that have it all in the same place? So that's actually, I'd consider that our bread and butter here at Offstreet. We can manage all those unique use cases on a mixed lot, and the biggest benefit to you is we bill based on the lot or enforcement zone and not for each tenant. So with Offstreet, we're able to bring all those unique parking scenarios under one flexible, easy-to-use platform. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let me just get it pulled up here. Awesome. So this is what the back end of Offstreet looks like. I'm sure most of you have been in here before, but we'll call this is one of your lots. Maybe it's at one of those buildings that Sydney mentioned. It's a high rise with multiple different things. You've got a gym in it. There's office permits, there's pharmacy, there's residential visitor parking. It's got it all, coffee shop. And we want to manage all the parking in one place. And the cool thing with Offstreet is we can do that. So each of these different tenants has its own unique set of rules and what they use Offstreet for. Really cool feature that we also can do, as I mentioned in the previous with the hotel, is we can create unique users that have specific security access to just their business, or whatever they're managing the parking underneath. So in this case, this is for residential visitor parking. So just like that coded parking Danny showed you earlier, we have a link for that under this lot. The coffee shop, it's got a 1-hour validation for any of the guests visiting the coffee shop. The gym, they also have a 2-hour validation for anyone visiting the gym. And we can create multiple different rules around these so that they can only use, they might be able to register one plate a day. They might be able to register at each of the different places they visit. And we can fully customize that so that there's rules for each of them, but also some rules that interconnect between all of them as well. We also can manage permits, just like Danny showed you with retail. We can go and have a permit list for an office that has multiple different permits for various workers in that building that have ongoing parking at that building. So it really puts everything all in one place. And yeah, that's mixed use parking. I'll pass it back to you, Sid.
That is great. Thank you so much, Hayden. I love how you make such a complex use case just look so easy and effortless to manage. We have so far one question that came through. How does reporting work for such a complex location?
Great question, Sid. I'll share my screen again just to show you and walk you through that. So we're going to pull this up here. Awesome. So we actually just revamped our reporting feature, and it actually makes it even easier to manage reporting for a location that has so many different complex uses. So under the reporting dropdown on the left side here, you can go to reports, you'll see the new flag. We've always done reporting, but it just looks a little bit different now. You'll hit create report, and you can choose different types of report, which I won't get into this too far, but you're able to pull reports exactly what you need. If you just need the events, if you just need the permits, registrations, or revenue, if you have any billing information tied to these that you want to pull a report for, you can just do that. We'll do a registration report for this example. And in here, you can put a name to it. I'm just going to call it test for now. You can choose exactly the date you need. And then you'll go down and you can filter by location. So if we're going to do the mixed use lot, we can go in and we can just pull reports for exactly what we want to pull for. The cool thing too with that user access I mentioned before about the coffee shop or the gym having a account just to manage their own parking, they also can pull reports just for their business as well. So you have a copy, they have a copy, and you'll see the same thing. You can even go as far as going down if you just want the 1 hour parking that's at some of the businesses or 2 hour parking, you can just go right down to the nitty gritty and get exactly what the reports you're looking for. And yeah, that's our new reporting feature. Another cool feature with it, anyone who has admin access can also schedule reoccurring. So if you want a monthly report, you don't want to come in here and pull that report, put in your email address or put in the email of anyone who needs it, and they'll automatically get emailed a report on whatever cadence that you wanted.
Awesome. Yeah, honestly, I love our new reporting feature. I know it was requested by so many different operators, so I'm so happy to see it out there and being used. We had another question come in, but it looks like you answered that in your detailed explanation of the reporting, so that's amazing. It kind of looks like that's all we have for that specific Q&A session, but now's the time where I'm going to open the floor to any other questions, either a question based on the demos we went through today, or any other questions and challenges you might be facing. Feel free to pop it in the Q&A. I know we had a question earlier that we didn't get to answer as we went into our next demo, but a question for you, Danny, that came from Jake. Can a resident pre-populate a code or plate, but if they don't end up coming, can they delete the registry before the session starts and not use one of their 10 registries within the month?
With residential locations, typically we do see like an immediate start time, so we aren't seeing folks pre-register for parking in situations like this. We can make it so that they can pre-register though, for sure. And a new feature that should be coming out in the next few weeks here is actually going to be the ability for the parker themselves to actually cancel or void the registration before it starts. So when they receive their email confirmation receipt, there will be an area on there that they'll be able to click and delete or void that registration, and that code usage will essentially just go right back in to the bank of codes that they can use.
Amazing. Okay, I love that. I mean, I love that we're getting so many new features. Okay, we have one more question. Some parkers might have a typo, which happens. Can we edit after the registration?
I can jump in for this one, Sid. So, just to mention, just like Danny had just mentioned, that same feature is actually going to allow you to do this as well. So you'll be able to edit your plate if there's a typo. The parker can on their confirmation. They won't be able to like change anything regarding the time or anything like that with their registration, but they'll be able to edit their plate, the state or province, as well as delete the registration if they're not going to use it anymore.
Amazing. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in today. So with that, that's all we have time for today. If anyone would like more information or would like to set up a call with your account manager to optimize your locations, please reach out to myself, Danny, or Hayden directly. I'm going to pop up our contact information on the screen. And then just a huge shout out for Danny and Hayden for crashing the party and making this webinar so fun. We wouldn't be here without you guys, so I appreciate you joining. And lastly, just keep your eyes peeled for more information about our next webinar. We're going to hope to be doing this monthly, so stay tuned and enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend.